All right. Thanks everyone for being in here this afternoon. This is session number 16 of application week. So we are wrapping up this afternoon with all of our kind of admissions and application informational sessions. So we've got ACT right now and then a couple more this afternoon. Tomorrow and Saturday will be our application fair. So you can go out to our website and see when colleges are going to be open for doing their application sessions, and you can actually just complete your application with them while you're in the session. So that's pretty exciting. And if you can't catch them one of the 2 days, just feel free to connect with them or myself, and we'll be sure to get you started with them. Today we're going to hear from April about our ACT test prep programs offered by ACT. So I'm excited to hear about that because this is a big thing that I know a lot of students are stressing about right now. So if you have any questions throughout the session, just type them in the chat or the Q&A. I'll be monitoring both of those and we will get your questions answered likely toward the end of the session so we can catch up with all of those. We do have another session starting at 4, so we'll likely wrap this up about 3:55. So if we don't get something answered for you, always reach out to myself or April and we can be sure to answer those questions for you. And then lastly, all of our sessions are being recorded. So if you have to take off for any reason or want to refer back to it, you can most definitely do that. And you can find the recording links on the webpage as well. So as of tomorrow, you'll be able to come back and get access to this session. All right, and April, I'm going to pass this over to you. So I'll stop sharing and then you can take it away.
Sounds good. Thank you for that introduction. Here we go. Let me get this up to the beginning again and we'll get all ready to go here. Now, can you see that?
Yep.
See my first slide there?
Perfect.
Wonderful. Well, hey, you guys, thanks so much for joining in this afternoon. As Jamie said, my name is April Hansen, and I'm the ACT account executive for the state of Iowa. So she asked me several weeks ago if I would fill everybody in on ACT's test prep programs, and I said I would be happy to. What I didn't know at that time is that between now and then, the vast majority of our test prep programs have changed drastically. So I have a lot of brand new information to share with everybody. And so let's go ahead and get started. You know, Jamie, you mentioned right off the bat that, you know, this stresses a lot of people out. And quite honestly, these are some similar reactions that I see from students when they just start even thinking about taking the ACT or starting a test prep program. But my advice is always, don't be scared of this. Let's get prepared for it. I mean, look, if you wanted to be the star quarterback on your high school football team, you wouldn't just show up at the first game as a senior and say, put me in, coach, I want to be the starting quarterback. That's just not how things work. You have to put in a lot of work and a lot of practice and a lot of effort to become that starting quarterback or that starting pitcher or first baseman or whatever. Well, the ACT is the exact same way. And it's pretty much true for anything that you really want to be good at. You have to put in the work and you have to do some practice. So this is definitely true for the ACT. And most of our students, many of our students take it first without any kind of preparation or practice at all. So it's probably not going to be your best score, right? Because you haven't done anything in advance to really prepare for it. Now, hopefully you're working hard in your classes because that's the best preparation of all for the ACT. But there are also some other things you can do to help improve your scores. And most students want to know after they've taken the ACT once, well, how do I improve my scores now? So we're going to talk about some of the things that we can provide that will help you with that. And you really want test prep that's going to help you be strategic and target those areas that you need the most improvement in. And we talk a lot about scores, but what do the scores really mean? A lot of people don't really quite understand all this. So I just want to take a quick minute or two to run through this so we're all kind of on the same playing field in terms of what ACT scores mean and what our college and career readiness benchmarks are. So those scores that you see right there on the left-hand side, the 18 in English, 22 in math, 22 in reading, and 23 in science are what we call the College and Career Readiness Benchmark scores. Those scores predict that you will have a high probability of success in college courses that are similar. So that English score of 18 translates to at least a B or C in English composition when you get to college. Same thing for the math score. That translates to the likelihood of success that you'll have in college algebra. Reading correlates to social sciences, and then the science score correlates to good old freshman biology. And one of the things we know about students who hit those particular benchmark scores is that they have about a 50% chance of getting at least a B in those entry-level college credit-bearing classes, or a 75% chance of getting a C or better in those same college classes. So we've done a lot of research at ACT and looked at students' college grades and then worked them back to what their ACT scores were to figure out just how predictive those benchmark scores are. So, you know, you may score much, much higher than that, and that's great. But these are kind of the baseline scores that we really like to emphasize can be really predictive. The other thing they really can tell us a lot about is how likely it is that a student will even go on to college, who will enroll in college. That's what those blue or light blue little figures are in this particular slide. And if you look over here on the left-hand side, you'll see the number of benchmarks met. So these are the number of students who met 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 going up. And as you can see, those students in the navy blue with the graduation cap on are much higher in number based on the number of benchmarks that they meet. So this was based on over 1.5 million ACT tested students who also graduated from high school. And then we tracked their progress going into college and getting through college and actually earning a degree and graduating from college. So I tell you this because the harder you work and the more effort you put into trying to meet those benchmark scores, the more ready you're going to be for college, the more likely you're going to be successful in entry-level college classes, and the more likely you will be to graduate and actually earn that final degree from college. So I think it's kind of important to understand what test scores really mean. We also do a lot of research and asking students what they actually want to get from their test prep program. And so when we sampled students, we spent a whole year actually sampling students and asking them, well, what do you really want? Well, what they came back and told us was that they wanted a lot of very realistic exam questions, exactly like the questions that they're going to be asked on the ACT. They also really liked live instruction. Believe it or not, a lot of students prefer that, even over online learning. And then the third thing was that they really wanted personalized tutoring that provided some one-on-one, really dedicated support just for them. They also said, you know, we want this anytime, anywhere we are. So we want to be able to choose the type of test prep that we can get. So we sometimes want books, sometimes we do one online, sometimes we want that live tutoring, but we want to be able to, want it to be really realistic. We want our confidence to be increased so that when we go to sit down and take that ACT for the first time or even the second time, we feel really good about our abilities and what this test is going to be like. And a lot of times the biggest hurdle we see students trying to overcome is just being comfortable with the test and what it's really like. You know, it's really a rapid fire, very fast-paced test. So when we develop our test prep programs, we develop them with that in mind. And so we want to make sure you learn how to pace yourself and get through each of the sections on the ACT, and that you know how to read the questions intelligently and get at the meat of what they're asking for, what kind of information they want you to provide in your answers. So ultimately, what we at ACT want is for you to improve your chances of going on to college and being admitted, and then also improve your scholarship opportunities at those colleges. So with that in mind, you know, I always like to remind people that yes, we really want you to be able to improve your ACT scores. Of course, everybody wants that, but it's about a whole lot more than that. It's really about improving your skills so that you are even more confident and ready and willing and capable of doing your day-to-day coursework in school. So it's not just about your scores, it's about improving your overall skills as well. So, you know, there are a lot of people, a lot of different companies out there that provide test prep of all various kinds and types. The big advantage to ACT test prep, of course, is that it's being provided by the actual test maker, the ACT. And we want to give you whatever options work best for you, you know, that having it your way, that anytime, anywhere type of preparation on any type of device, whether it's phone, tablet, PC, Mac, or whatever. And we also really don't want you to have to worry about budget. We're going to talk about all of the free ACT test prep programs that we have, as well as the ones that do, you know, charge, but we have such a nice variety that there's something for everyone. And then, of course, as I said earlier, we really want to make sure that the practice that we're giving you simulates the actual ACT test. So when you get your scores back, you're going to get a score report that looks just like this mailed to your house. Your school's also going to get a copy of this to put in your file. And I think it's kind of important to know what to look for when your scores come back and your score reports come back. So I'm going to break this down just a little bit so we can see it a little more easily. So this is the top half of that page we just saw. And you'll notice across the top, it has all of your test scores there. It shows your composite, shows your math score, science score. We average those two to give you a STEM score. And then also your English, reading. And if you take the writing section, you'll have a writing score. If you take the writing, you'll also have that English language arts score that's on the far right-hand side there. So those will be your scores when they come back. Down here, you'll see these purple bars. These will show what the benchmarks are. So if you remember, 22 was the benchmark in math, 23 was in science, and so on and so on. And this is your range where you scored, whether that's green here for the math and science sections or blue for English, reading, and writing. So you'll get to see pretty quickly where you scored in comparison to where that benchmark is, whether it's above or below, and just how close you are to meeting that benchmark. Oh, I guess I could have clicked these to show that a little more clearly. Now, this is the bottom half of the report, and this is really the most important part of all, in my opinion, because this shows you each of the sections that are within that math section on the test. So we have preparing for higher math, which includes number and quantity, algebra, functions, geometry, and statistics and probability. Same thing with science, English, and reading. And writing over here. So when you look across here, it tells you that in the number and quantity section, this student got 5 out of 5 questions right, or 100% correct. They also ended up getting a little check mark here, which means they were in the readiness range for that particular part of the math section. Now, what's great about this is that when you get your scores back, instead of just saying, well, I got the 19 on math, that's pretty good, I just need a couple more points, or 3, I guess, you know, to meet that benchmark score. But this tells you where you really need to put in the most effort. So, I mean, obviously, if this was you, you would have done really well in number and quantity. You also did pretty well here on functions. You got 6 out of 8 of those right. Not too bad on algebra, but look, when we get down here, now we're looking at geometry and statistics and probability. These were your lowest scores. So that should tell you right away that these are the 2 areas where you need to put in the most work. So when you're looking at your test prep programs, you'll say, well, I didn't do so well in geometry. I'm really going to focus on that. And the same thing with science. You know, we tell you, you did really well here on scientific investigation, or pretty well anyway, not so good on evaluation of models, inferences, and experimental results. Okay, so this is an important document for you to refer back to all the time when you're really trying to improve your scores. It makes no sense to really work on the stuff that you're already good at. You want to really concentrate on the things that you're not doing as well in and improve those skills. And then your scores will also reflect that. Okay, so let's start with where you can begin to find all of the free test prep. Our homepage at act.org will show you this on the screen. You can register for the ACT. You can also learn all about what test day is going to be like, how to interpret your scores. So some of the things we just looked at. And you can also click on this slide and go to all the different test prep options. So one of the first ones you're going to see is this free sample test. That's called Preparing for the ACT. Now, this is about, I want to say about 64, 65 pages, but you can download it if you want to, and you can give yourself a practice test. It will tell you how many minutes you get for each section. So I always say, you know, just set your microwave timer or any timer and do 45 minutes because that's how long you have for the English section, and then 60 minutes for math, and so on and so on, and practice it like it's really test day. And that will help you with the timing and the pacing of the test because, like I said, it's pretty rapid fire. There are 45 questions on the English test, and you have 45 minutes. So that's 1 minute per question. So a lot of people stumble because they don't get through the whole thing. And this is a really great way for free to help you learn about that pacing. Now, the deal with this is you have to grade it yourself, but that's okay because we give you an answer key at the back, and don't cheat. But you can also, it'll show you which questions you got right and which questions you got wrong. And then you can go back and really look at those ones that you got wrong and say, oh, now I see why I gave the wrong answer for that one. Or you can ask a teacher or somebody for help if you still need some more guidance on why those questions were wrong. So this is the first thing you'll see on that test prep slide. This includes a full-length practice test. There's also an optional writing test too, and we will score that for you if you mail it in to us. We don't charge for that. There are also some test taking tips on this and some great tips on what to expect on test day. And this is also available in Spanish if anybody would rather practice in Spanish. Another thing you'll find on this website are some free online practice questions. So you can click on English or math or reading or science or even the writing samples, and you will get some I think about maybe a half a dozen questions for each of these sections. And you do them online and you'll see what the right and wrong answers are again. So this is just kind of a different approach. It's online, and someday many of you will be taking your ACT online, either at school during district testing or on a national test day. So you might want to practice answering some questions online and just see what that's like. But this is also free and a great way to just get a glimpse of what ACT test questions are really like. You also get, like if you were to click on the math section in that previous slide, it would also give you a description of what's covered on the math test and how many questions and how many minutes you get on that section. This one, for example, will send you to our calculator policy, so you'll know exactly what kind of calculators are allowed or not allowed on test day. And then it will also give you a description about the content covered on the math test as well. And you can click on the contents over on the right if you want to see exactly how many questions or what percentage of questions are in each of the 3 areas in math. So this is true for English and the other sections too. If you want to take the writing, this will not only give you sample writing prompts if you click on that blue button there, but over on the left, it will also show you how we score the writing tests and what rubrics we use in order to come up with those scores. You can also see the difference between a score of a 1 on the writing sample or writing essay as opposed to a 6, and what those differences are. You know, if you want to shoot for a 4 or 5, you can see exactly what type of writing you'll need to provide in order to score that on the writing section. Well, I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about ACT Academy because this is our free online learning tool that's available to anyone. It's another really great place for you to start practicing on the ACT. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what this looks like and how it works. So this is the website down here in the lower right-hand corner for ACT Academy. You can go to our website and just type in ACT Academy in the search engine, and that will take you to this page. And all you have to do is create an account for yourself and give yourself a login and password. And then you can get it out of ACT Academy for the rest of your life if you want to, because there's no limit on how long you can use it. And what we've done here is include all kinds of amazing educational resources for students to draw from. So if you see this grouping of content from you know, the top providers in the world to ACT Academy, you can see we've got questions from NASA, from the Smithsonian, Bill Nye, the science guy. All of Khan Academy is located in ACT Academy, as well as National Geographic, and about 500,000 other educational videos, games, quizzes, and assignments. And what ACT Academy does is match the content, the best content from each of these sources, and then it provides it to you to really target those weak areas that you still need to spend the most time improving on. So here's how it works. It's personalized. You have a couple of ways of getting into ACT Academy and using it once you create your account. If you've taken the pre-ACT or the ACT, all you have to do is go in and plug in those test scores, and I'll show you where that happens here in just a second. Or you can take a full-length practice ACT, which is also included in ACT Academy, or you can take a series of smaller subject area quizzes in English, math, reading, and science, just like on the ACT. And then, based on how you do on any of those areas, whether you've plugged in your scores from a test, or you've taken the full-length ACT, or the practice quizzes, ACT Academy automatically scores that and figures out which lessons are going to be the most effective in helping you improve your scores. There's a lot of really great artificial intelligence in this system, and that's why it customizes everything to you in particular and where you are and where you need to go in terms of your learning path. This is all done online. Again, it's available 24/7, so you can use it whenever you want to. It also includes a lot of tips and strategies for taking the ACT test, and it really gives you some great resources to play with. So if you have that pre-ACT test already, or you've already taken the ACT, all you have to do is get that score sheet or your score report in front of you and plug in your scores for each of these reporting categories in each of the subject areas. And then pre-ACT calculates all that and figures out what lessons you need to look at right now. If you don't want to do that, or you don't want to take the full-length practice test, you can take these shorter quizzes right here. Just click on Explore English, for example, or Explore Reading, and that will take you to quizzes that will allow ACT Academy to do the exact same thing. And then it's going to generate your practice for today. So these are the lessons you would need or would want to look over today based on how you scored in that math quiz or on that math section. When you've taken the math test, here are those same reporting categories that are on the math test. See, here's geometry. If you just click on Get Resources on any of those areas, then you're going to be taken to the content that ACT Academy has recommended for you to help you increase your geometry skills. So it's very, very smart. Once you've done these lessons, and these are typically, you know, about 30 minutes a day, they average maybe 7 to 10 minutes each, then you can take a quiz, and then that's going to retest you to see how well you've learned that information. And if you've nailed it, then it's going to take you next to the highest level, a higher level of math problems for you to solve so that you keep working and improving all the time. If you didn't quite get it and you need to go back and master some of these lessons that are provided here, it will tell you that too. And it will say, well, let's slow our roll for a minute. Let's go back and try some of these again to make sure you really understand what we're doing here. So, for example, you would have 8 questions in this one math section, and here's a question that you would be asked. It's a function question, and then it's going to tell you if you answered incorrectly or correctly. Now, in this particular case, this person gave an incorrect answer. And then ACT Academy is going to say, all right, here are the 3 lessons we want you to look at, and that's going to help you to be able to answer these questions in the future. And it's going to keep quizzing you on this until you really get it and understand it fully. So that's ACT Academy. As I said, it's completely free. It's available to anybody who wants to use it. And we provide only the highest level of curated, vetted content for this. And the content that you see that are going to be your particular, very specific lessons that are customized just for you are lessons that other students have used in the past and got really great results from. So this program is based on the efficacy of the quizzes and the test questions too. And we only are going to give you the ones that have helped other students before you. All right, now let's get to some of the other ACT test prep programs that ACT has here. We're going to start with our official test prep guides. Now some of these are brand new, and some are the original test prep guides that we've had for a very long time. We're also going to talk about our self-paced course, our live online course, and then the official tutoring program that we have that are all partnered with Kaplan, which is the largest test prep company in the world. This is the OG of test prep guides, okay? This was the original guide. It's about 3 inches thick. It has been around forever. It includes 5 full-length practice tests. You also get an online version. You get a code to log into and take an online test if you want to try that. And this covers all the subject areas on the ACT. So English, reading, science, math, and writing. This gives a lot of good samples and tips and a really detailed explanation for every answer that you give, whether that's correct or incorrect. And it's about $40. You can order it from ACT, you can get it from Barnes & Noble, you can order it from Amazon, you can get it from just about anywhere. Just this spring, we came up with a beginner's guide for the ACT. And this is really targeted for freshmen and sophomores who want to get a little preview of what the ACT is going to be like. This is what we call the pre-ACT diagnostic test. So this is an official full-length ACT practice test, and it also is going to score it for you, and it's going to give you predictive benchmarks of where you would score on the ACT if you were to take it this same day as you take this test. So this is pretty much like the official guide that we looked at just a second ago, but it's also made specifically for younger students who maybe haven't had the highest level of course content that juniors and seniors have. And then we thought, you know what, a lot of students don't really want to buy that whole big guide, that first one that we looked at. They just want to specifically look at a particular subject area. Maybe you just really need to concentrate on math or science and improve those skills and scores on the ACT. So just last spring, we came up with these specific official guides that are very targeted for each of the subject areas. And again, these are targeted for just about anybody, and they're only $20 each. So they give you really detailed reporting and practice questions, and also one of those online tests that you can try to take. So if you really want to just focus on a specific area, this might be a really great way to go. Here's what English has, for example. It's going to talk about, first of all, it's going to have questions that are taken off of retired ACT tests. So they're actual ACT test questions. And it's going to cover all those areas that you need to do well in, like grammar, advanced as well as basic levels of English. And we'll also give some strategies and shortcuts to help you save time, even as you just read these questions. So this is kind of what the English test, it's a good first step to understanding what the English section is all about. And reading is basically the same way. Lots of tips on how to actually read each of the question types and what to look for in the question as well as in the answer. It's going to help you learn to quickly read and retain information. And like all the others, it's going to give you those very detailed explanations for every question and every answer in this book. Math is kind of the same. It's going to cover all these areas, number and quantity. These are all those reporting area categories or reporting categories that we looked at just a little while ago on the score report, on the student score report. So it's going to cover all of those, and it's going to show you the solutions to each problem, as well as the detailed explanations of how you would have arrived at those correct solutions. And here's science. Again, very detailed breakdowns of each of the sections within science. It's going to give you lots of examples and explanations, and it's really going to help you focus on reading your charts and graphs and how to interpret data, because that's what the science section is all about. There is very little, if any, physics on the science section. It's all about data interpretation and can you read and analyze. So that's a good tip just in itself. Now, these are the other online programs that we have. The first is our self-paced course by Kaplan. This just came out last month, or no, 2 months ago, sorry. This lets you really practice on any device on your
April, we can't hear you. I'm not sure because you're not muted. If you're attending, I believe she'll just probably log back in to start where she left off. So if you don't mind holding tight for just a second, we'll get her started back up here. Sorry about that, everybody. Just a reminder though, if you have any questions about ACT and test or prepping for the test, feel free to type those in and we'll get those answered as well. And hopefully we'll have her back up and going in just a few minutes. I'm going to give her just a few more minutes to ensure everything's working and see if she can log back in. I will give that probably until about 3:40. So if you need to take a break or anything, feel free to do that. And hopefully we'll get her back up and going here shortly. Otherwise, I would say enjoy a little bit of a break. And if you have questions, definitely let us know. We are here to help answer those. And thanks for holding tight with me. Hopefully everything will work out on April's end to get back up and going. Oh, perfect. Hi.
There, can you hear me?
Yep.
Could you hear any of that last part, or did I get kicked out?
It's probably paused about 30 seconds before you got booted.
Oh gosh, okay. Well, I don't know if people are still on. Were they able to see anything?
We saw once, I'm trying to remember what slide it was. I feel like the last one I looked at was 10th and 11th grade science prep, maybe.
Probably the user guide.
Yep. And they did all stay on, so we've still got our attendees on here.
Okay, well, let's do this if you want. Let me, now I gotta find it again.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, I don't know if I lost a connection or what. I noticed that I had gotten kicked out of the Zoom meeting, so I apologize for that.
No worries.
Let me open this again. All right, I'll try sharing my screen one more time. Here we go.
You are back up and running.
Okay. All right, let me, oops, don't want to do that. Let me fast forward through this. Because it sounds like we maybe got into the guides.
Yep.
And that's good. At least we got through the free stuff, because that was what I was most concerned about. So yeah, I was just talking about these different guides. You know, we've got this one that has all the subject areas in it. And then we have the beginner's guide, and then we have all the different ones for very specific subject areas, because a lot of students just really don't want all subject areas. They just really want to focus on reading or math, for example. So these are only about $20 and can really help you hone in on that specific subject area. I won't go through all these again with everybody, but these give you, you know, retired ACT test questions. They cover all of the reporting categories in each subject. So, you know, here's our algebra, our functions, our geometry, etc. in the math section. And you get really detailed explanations of the right answers, the wrong answers. You can do an online practice test in this area. So these can be really, really helpful. And science, I think it's really important to know that the science section is really all about how you can interpret data, that second bullet point there, and really read graphs and interpret information like charts. So this is really going to help you focus on how to do that by using those really in-depth examples and explanations of each of the science areas. And we'll talk about this one just real quickly. This is our self-paced course. We have 3 online types of test prep that we partnered with Kaplan to bring to everyone. And the first one here is our self-paced course. This you can do anywhere, anytime, on any device. It's totally up to you. It's all done online. You get lots of short video lessons so you can watch them whenever you want to. Lots of official test questions that you can practice with, and again, help boost that confidence. And then there are 5 full-length ACT practice tests. This one, all 3 of these actually that I'm going to show you right now just got released this summer. And this is $99 for 6 months. It's also free for any student who's eligible for a fee waiver on a national test. So if you qualify for a fee waiver and register for a Saturday ACT, you will immediately be prompted to select this if you want it when you, at that time of registering. So it'll just automatically be added to your shopping cart for free, along with that, that test that you're registering for. And this subscription is for a full year. The second one offers all of those things that we just talked about, plus 16 hours of live instruction with expert Kaplan teachers. So they're going to go over test content, test taking strategies. Again, these are flexible because a lot of them are in the evenings or on weekends to work with students' schedules. And there's also a chat feature in this, so students can ask questions and get them answered in real time by teachers that are off camera as well. So this one's $400 for the 6-month version, or 6-month subscription, I guess I should say. Plus it gives you all of the self-paced content from that first program that we looked at. And the third one is official tutoring. You know, some students just want a dedicated person that's available to them for private tutoring. This allows you to really focus in on the areas you need the most help in. So it's a lot less generic than the other test prep programs, but again, it's totally flexible. It's based on a 6-month subscription, and you get the free tutoring plus the self-paced version and all the others, and that one's $700. That's just kind of a side-by-side comparison of all of them. And then I wanted to make sure we had a little bit of time left for questions. If anybody has any, I can stop screen sharing right now. And it doesn't look like there's anything in the chat, but I am happy to answer live questions too, if anybody has them.
Yeah, please feel free to put those in the chat or the Q&A box. I believe that's the only way you can actually ask a question.
They're probably all muted, I bet.
Yep.
So, okay.
With Zoom webinar, we cannot have participants talking. So I'm learning a lot about Zoom this week.
Yeah, I thought I remembered that about Zoom, so.
But thank you, April. I didn't realize how many preparation things there were for testing. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and so many of them are free, and you can get linked to them just by going to the act.org website. If you just scroll down, I believe it's the little picture of just like of somebody's head, and it says test prep, and that'll take you to all the free practice questions and the downloadable full-length test and all those things. So
right, I'll actually share that real quick.
Is on there too. Oh yeah, I'll show you where it is. So if you just scroll down, there it is. Where it says test prep, the little brain there. If you click on that and then scroll down just a little bit more, there's the official guide if you want to order that. There's the subject ones, and then the beginner's guide. There are the online versions.
Awesome.
Yeah, now let's go all the way down. Let's see if, oh yeah, there's the test prep guide. So you can get that there.
If you're a student on here, I would just enter your details and get a guide here. That's pretty Awesome. Or download it, it looks like.
Yep. And if you see the My ACT account highlight right there down in the lower left-hand corner, yep, there it is, My ACT. If you create an account in My ACT, all of the test scores for the ACT go into your My ACT account. So when you're ready to, after you've taken the test and you want to see what your scores are, that's where you'll go to find your scores. That's also where you go to register for
Okay.
and it's where it's going to prompt you to say, hey, do you want this free online test prep? You know, because
Yeah.
you entered a fee waiver. And then, yeah, here's what I really wanted to see. So if you, right there's ACT Academy. So that's the one that's free to everybody, that is good for all eternity. So once you create a free account in that, that's the one that will also customize all of the resources. And you know, you can enter your ACT scores or pre-ACT scores and get customized lesson plans out of Academy. So yeah, it really is all right here on this first page.
Yeah, this is amazing. And I'm sure this stuff was out when I took ACT, but I didn't even realize it. So I'm really glad to be able to know about it to pass on to our students today.
Well, you know, our test prep keeps evolving as time goes on. ACT Academy has been around, I think this will be its third year now, maybe.
Okay.
4 at the most. So it's fairly new, but I absolutely love it. It's fun and it's interactive. You can choose if you only want to learn by videos, you can select videos. If you only want to learn by gaming, you can select gaming.
Very cool.
So it's a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, I do have some questions for you, April.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is by buying the prep guide and then practicing tests over and over again, is this a good way to study?
You know, I think practice is always a good way to try to improve yourself, no matter what you're trying to accomplish. I think you have to be a little bit careful though, because you don't want to become obsessed with it. You know, the best, I will say this till, you know, my last breath, that the best way to really prepare is just to work hard in your classes. You know, ask good questions, study, do the homework. These guides are great supplements, but they are by no means a replacement for what you're getting in school. They can help you and take you to a little bit more savvy level of test taking. But I think if you take the ACT more than 3 times, maybe 4 times, that's too much. You know, the typical number of tests that a student takes is 3 or 4. And after that, sometimes we actually start to see scores go down. So there's no limit. You know, at the same time, you know, if you're really practicing the test content and learning that, you're also really polishing your skills in a subject area. So if you do that along with, you know, what your teachers are asking you to do in the classroom, I think you're going to get a pretty good result, and certainly a pretty good leg up on just doing well in class as well.
Yeah. I would say if you do your practice test maybe 1 or 2 times, so you know what the experience will be like when you go to take your test as well. And then once you take that ACT test the first time, you'll know what to expect. So not that you shouldn't take a practice test after that, but then you'll have a better idea of how it all works and everything, which might help calm maybe some anxieties that you might have and tell you what to study more as well. So then you can kind of like focus on exactly what you're trying to raise, if that's what you're looking at.
That's great advice.
One other question, April, how do you apply to get a fee waiver?
You can go to your high school counselor and ask them for a fee waiver. Each fee waiver in the universe has a unique code on it. And so you use that code, it'll ask you for it when you go to register for a test. And that's how we know to not charge you for that test. And starting right now, this school year, students can get up to 4 fee waivers.
Wow.
It went from 2 to 4 this last year. So we want students to be able to practice, you know, to improve their scores, because that just means you have better opportunities waiting for you at the end.
Yeah, that helps a lot too if they've had to maybe think about rescheduling when they originally planned to take it and all that kind of stuff. So,
Well, with COVID, we've really had a big mess on our hands because so many
yeah,
students wanted to test last spring, didn't get to because their schools were closed. And even this summer, we had so many test sites that were closed. And our number of seats was just so greatly reduced that
right,
we had thousands and thousands more students who wanted to test but didn't have a test site close enough that they could get to on a Saturday.
right.
So hopefully that will improve. We've added extra dates for September and October.
I was just thinking you guys are doing a great job of handling this because I've seen all the extra sites pop up and the dates. I put them in our newsletter and everything.
Oh,
So,
that's so nice. Thanks.
hmm yeah, we
Yeah,
definitely want to make sure our students know about everything that's happening. So,
wonderful. I appreciate that.
of course. I think that was all of our questions, April.
All right, we finished on time.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd stick around to feel the if there's any more, feel free to type them in. We will get them. So even if we end and you're still typing, it'll capture that. And myself or I will ask April for the answer and get it back to you. So if you are working on a question, totally fine. But we do have to wrap up to get to our next one right after this.
Yep. All right.
So thank you, April, for
Thanks,
joining us this
Jamie.
afternoon. I appreciate it.
You bet. I
And
appreciate the invite.
heck yeah. We'll be in touch soon.
All right, talk to you later. Bye, everybody.
Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Thanks.